I've been working on some interesting particle trailing using the built-in particle system in the Maxon C4D. In the process of this exploration, I would like to share with you a little bit of my experience. If you are not an expert in the field of particles, then the knowledge I will share next will be very helpful to you. I will explain to you with basic emitter. Change emission mode to shot. Shape change from default rectangle to circle. Add a turbulent force field. Modify the intensity and noise of the force field. Create reproduce emitter. Open the help manual with the right mouse button in any parameter. You can see some brief official descriptions of this launcher and reference effects. Reproduce emitter has a trap. Let me show you what the problem is. The default scatters mode is distribution. Modify count parameter. As you can see, there is currently no problem in randomly splitting new groups of particles. Set the split particle emission speed to 0 to better observe the form and number of split particles. Increase the number of particles distributed. This mode doesn't keep splitting new groups of particles for every particle I need. Scatter mode to per particle. The default mode is generated only once. Now the point is, the timeline is already very laggy with this number of particles. There is even a warning pop-up message. This is very abnormal. What is the problem? If switching to continuous splitting mode causes the software to crash, don't ask me why I know. If you don't believe me, I'll demonstrate it to you. I didn't even dare to use play mode. I could only demonstrate in frame-by-frame mode. Do you think there is any problem with that? I'll switch to play mode and see what happens. The software immediately goes into freeze mode. After my research, I found out that the problem reproduce emitter must be in the particle group. Now replay the timeline and the test will be silky smooth. If you need to use a reproduce emitter, be sure to use it under the particle group. This is the core content of this video. Let's talk about more details by the way. First, we deal with the shape of the reproduced particle motion. Create a conditional modifier. The default property is particle age. First, change the chance to 40%. Create kill modifier assigned to conditional modifier child. The now split red particle group will randomly delete particles based on the age generated. It is even possible to replicate the existing turbulent force field of the scene to reproduce particle groups. Adjust the turbulence parameters to make the particle form more layered. Continue to increase the number of reproducing particles. Adjusting the effect of the turbulent force field of the main particle group. Now we need to color map the particles. Drag the color map modifier to the main particle group level. Then shut down the reproduce emitter. The color mapping properties panel doesn't have the parameters I need. Switch to fields mode. Then add step field. Click on the color remap to switch the color mode to gradient. Directly read the software's built-in color gradual change presets. Now that the main particle color information is available, re-enable the reproduce emitter. Switch to the particle properties panel and set color inheritance to 100%. Now the random color of the main particle is lost. Freeze fields must be added to the color map modifier or color information will be lost. We now have color information for both the primary and split particles. Then process the radius property of the main particle and set the random size. Particle group check draw radius. Reproduce particle group also check draw radius to find that the size of the two groups is inconsistent. Reproduce particle groups switch to property bar check inherit radius as 100%. Now the two groups of particles are the same color and the same radius. I hope the radius of the reproducing particles will gradually decrease with age. So I created the math modifier and assigned it to the reproduce particle group. Operation mode changed to multiply. The target property is changed to radius. Multiply parameter to 0.9. You can see that the radius of the reproducing particle group gradually decreases with age. The shrinking time varies according to the value you set. If you need to modify the color of the particle group, please close the freeze field. Modify the color information again. Freeze field directly delete. Re-add freeze field. Now the particle color information can be updated correctly and run normally. I am not satisfied with the turbulent force field effect of the main particle now, so I will delete it directly. Create a particle node modifier and double-click the object to pop up the node operation window. Add random fields in the field panel and enable vectors. Cross-production calculation with particle position information and vector of random field on node panel. Scale node, change to vector 2D. Connect node information. The final output is velocity. The input information of the scale node is directly output to the external control. And modify it to a more recognizable name, such as noise intensity. Now the particles are spinning in the emitter position, not the effect I want. What I need is a noise effect while the particles maintain their original direction of motion. The next operation is also realized by groping when I recorded the tutorial. First I output velocity with the velocity node and the position node, and then I realized I could use the mix node. Note that I forgot to modify the mix node at this time, and the default is float. So these particles are acting very strangely. Later, I found out that I forgot to change the data type to vector. Modifying the mixing ratio can achieve effects that cannot be achieved by the turbulent force field. Reproduce the turbulent force field inside the emitter and add some detail. Switch to field panel to add step field. It can be seen that the turbulent force fields are gradually affected in sequence. Finally, the parameters output by the particle node modifier can be added to the 3D window adjustment parameters. So that's what I want to share with you today about my particle module. I hope my experience will be helpful for your future work and study. If you want to learn more in-depth C4D knowledge, you can join my Patreon. You can learn more professional operations from my daily research sharing. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.